Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There Live, a entertainment live stream and podcast currently focused on film and television. And for this special episode, something a little bit different. This is an episode where we are going to be talking about Frightfest 2021 that was this past bank holiday weekend. So myself, and I'm sure my guests as well, are still feeling somewhat tired and lagged after, essentially 4 days and one evening of back-to-back horror films. So it's back in the cinema. We thought we'd discuss it. If you're finding us for the first time here, welcome. Please do get involved in the live chat. If you've got any comments or questions or anything, it'll be great to have you involved. If you're finding this after the fact, you can still leave information in the comment section below, and I do try and respond to all and every comment that gets left. My name's Keith Isles. I am an independent filmmaker, content creator, and a lifelong enthusiast of cinema, television, and related media, and a particular fan of the horror and thriller genres. So Frightfest seemed very appropriate for this. And I'm really pleased to be joined by some guests this evening that also attended Frightfest 2021. And what we're going to do is we're just going to have a bit of a general chat. We don't really have an agenda for this one as such. It's a little bit of a chat about Frightfest in general, and some of the films and the highlights from this year. We're not going to go into heavy spoilers or anything with this, because we appreciate that many of these films were previews before releases, and some of them are going to be involved in the Frightfest digital event, which is happening over the next few days. So we are going to be light on spoilers, but hopefully heavy on fun. Also, if you are here, please check out some of the other work on this channel, and all of my guests, etc., will also have links in the show notes today. So first up, I want to welcome to the stream filmmaker and Frightfest regular Clive Ashenden. Welcome, Clive.
Hello, we made it, Keith. We survived.
We made it. We had our festival passes. Yeah, I can see you're still wearing yours around your neck, and
that's right. Yeah, I didn't sleep with it on or anything.
Are you sure about that, Clive?
I don't know. It's all a blur. It's just so much blood, Keith. So much blood.
Absolutely, too much blood. And you
no.
You're a bit of a veteran when it comes to Frightfest, because you've been attending Frightfest almost as long as the organizers of Frightfest. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I missed the first 2 years, but then since the sort of third year, so the early 2000s, when it was still in the Prince Charles Cinema, I've been going every year to the main event. I've also done a couple of Frightfest Glasgow's, been to a load of the side events and Halloween events. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm addicted. So
how many was this for you? This was number,
I think it was 18 or 19 wow. Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah,
I think this was my 8th one. So yeah, you're putting me to shame there, Clive, but not for the first time. I'm also really pleased to welcome another Frightfest regular that's decided to come and join us today. He's actually quite a big supporter of this channel, which I always appreciate as well. Welcome to Home Media Minefield. Let's see what's out there, to Andy Lunn. Hey, Andy.
Hello, Keith. Hello, Clive. How you doing?
Hey, Andy.
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. Just recovering from the however many days it was, and the reality of work.
Yes, the getting back to reality is kind of tough, isn't it? But we're doing it. How many Frightfests is this for you, Andy?
It's 12, I believe, or 12. No, it was the first one, but that was just one film.
So far,
just
Clive's in the lead, and I'm well at the.
It's not a competition,
not a
Keith. It's not a competition, and one of the good things about Frightfest is it's very much a family sort of like horror family atmosphere, and there's no kind of, it's not about gatekeeping and stuff. It's like we welcome people into our horror church, right?
Indeed, we will talk about that. But before we do, we've got one more person to welcome to this stream this evening. So I am really pleased to welcome independent filmmaker and frequent
collaborator
Mike Tack.
Hello. Hey, you all right, boys?
You made it.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, frequent collaborator and employer of Keith for no money.
Well, I'm glad you added the no money part.
Mr. Chameleon, I call him. He's my Peter Cushing. Clive's sometimes been my Boris Karloff.
Oh, there you go. That's very kind of you to say so, Mike. How many Fright Fests is this for you, sir?
2006, I went to see Land of the Dead the day with the Romero trilogy or whatever it was being shown. Funnily enough, I got the Land of the Dead unrated Blu-ray recently, and it's given me a new appreciation for the film. Now it's been restored because it was absolute garbage when I first saw it. They cut all the violence out, but the uncut version now is really good because obviously in the wake of like The Walking Dead and things like that, ultra violence, it's okay to put that stuff back in. So I recommend you guys check that out. It's really good. It's really up there now. It's like really up there with the rest of the Dawn and the Days, really.
Yeah, I do have the Blu-ray of it, and it is in
a
big pile of discs to eventually get round to doing reviews on. So more homework.
You got some Hammer films you've got to watch, haven't you, Keith?
I've got quite a lot. Yes, I do have quite a lot to get through, but you know, we are trying to balance a day job and filmmaking and obviously going to 4-day film festivals as well. So it's
I'm just going to reveal now. I only went for one day on the last day this year, just because I didn't have the stamina to use public transport for the extra 4 days.
Well, I must admit, having done the night bus for three nights of it, then I can feel your pain. Yes.
Yeah, I think, Andy, did you encounter like buses instead of trains on the way home?
I had to get Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I had to go from Hemel.
Oh, so did you?
Wife took me there. Yeah, that's why I missed the last film.
Because we parked up and the parking just for 1 day was 50 quid.
Right.
Wow.
Plus 15 quid congestion charge. So
there you go.
It's good.
Can be expensive, but I have to say, I for one, as I'm saying here on my T-shirt, was very pleased that Fright Fest was back in the cinemas this year. Obviously, I think the Alan, Paul, Ian, and Greg have done an absolutely fantastic job with the organising of this. Of course, with their team of people as well, that includes Paul Smith amongst others. But they did a really good job of putting this together, and I was really pleased for it to be back on the big screen again. Andy, you mentioned just prior to the festival starting that you were slightly apprehensive about going back to the big screen. Do you want to?
Yeah, well, I'd been to the big screen a few times, but it had been very much the spacing was still there, the distancing and all that, and I don't know, just the idea of it being all sort of free for all almost, with all the seats close together. I wasn't 100% about it, but I thought,
seen some of the audience before, hadn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's that whole thing. You usually get ill after anyway. Most people do, and I have done because you're in that room with everyone for so long. But I thought if I didn't go, that would be maybe that would stop me going at all. Do you know what I mean? Or I thought I had to just fight through that and go, and it was fine. Once I was there, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm always a bit apprehensive about going anyway, I think. So
I was on the second screen and it was only half full. So that's a day pass screen. I was quite surprised actually. And Alan Jones said that they pretty much only had physically half the numbers of ticket sales this year, but they
Right.
said they had to do it, and they did a good
Yeah.
job from what I saw.
Yeah.
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 Well, you've got the digital edition continuing, and starting very shortly after we're recording this. And
How much
I
is
think
that, Clive?
well, if you've already bought a pass, if you came to the physical event, I think it's £40 for the add-on. But if you're buying a pass for the whole thing, like just that, then it's more than that. I don't know
I think it's 85.
Is 85? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
And then, or you can just sort of just choose a like individual screening, if you see what I mean. You just buy like a single ticket for like £9 or something. I think it is.
Starts Wednesday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Tomorrow,
Wednesday the 1st of September through to Sunday the 5th of September. So and it's good because not everyone feels comfortable yet going back to cinema, especially for like a big event, lots of people, or their work, whatever, just hasn't allowed them to travel this year. There's all kinds of reasons. So it's nice that people have still got that option if they want to take it. Yeah. Or if you've been to the physical event and you just want to catch up on all those films that were in the Discovery screen, or the ones that you missed out on because you had to have a lay-in and recover from like hard nights drinking or whatever you were doing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I have to say, I thought this year, Frightfest, there's always a variation in quality of films that you see, and you get some real stinkers and then you get some gems amongst them, but I have to say, from my point of view, I thought generally this year the quality of the films that they showed was of a fairly high standard. What did you guys think?
Yeah, there's only one film I walked out on, but I only had a day pass. That was Slapface.
Right.
Not impressed with that film, so I would give that a miss. That would be one thing I would suggest. Everything else was really good, though. So 4 of the 5 for the final day was really good. And in fact, there's one film that had me and Ryan, who went with me, talking for about an hour just about the film. So that was Ultrasound.
Yes, yeah, which was very that very thought provoking and in a good way. So that's excellent. Andy, Clive, did you sort of feel that generally this year the quality of the choices was good? I mean, we did have a lot of variation, which was great, but did you sort of feel that generally, it was of a reasonable standard?
I thought the quality was good. I sort of wanted a bit more horror. I know it's not always, there can't be that many horrors because there's so many films. It's a genre festival. I know that's said a lot, but there was just a bit sort of like, it's another kind of thrillery one or more sci-fi one, or I wanted horror.
Wow, you maybe should have stayed for the last one, Andy, but
I know.
We'll come to that. What about you, Clive? You're a bit of an aficionado on all of this stuff. What was your sort of broad stroke thoughts before we go into any specifics?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see kind of themes of different films. You could see that there were a few films which they either shot during the pandemic or they just happened to tap into those themes because they were, naturally like zombie films or whatever like that. And we just naturally view them through that lens now. So I feel there was a kind of thread of like, pandemic stuff and also a bit of that kind of conspiracy theory stuff, which we've been encountering with, various online stuff going on with people's paranoia about whether to believe what they're told, whether to believe the news, and lots of, frankly, quite distressing stuff where people aren't believing that, that COVID vaccinations work and stuff like that. So I realise it's not that kind of podcast, but there certainly was a lot of especially in the kind of thrillers. There's a lot of kind of paranoid-y stuff. So yeah,
It's like going back to the 70s then.
Definitely with especially. I mean, I'd say like a number of my sort of top 5 films would like easily sit in that realm. Yeah.
Okay.
Because every year, sorry, I was just going to say, every year there always seems to be a theme where there's a common sort of collusion of ideas, as if by chance. I mean, the last Fright Fest we went to, the proper one, it was all about slapping children, wasn't it? Which is fine by me, but
you can get ones where there's just an unfortunate kind of like build up of like everyone is sort of made like there was we've had in the past Fright Fest where there's been a lot of genital mutilation. That's been it, or Fright Fest where there was a lot of rape revenge and
horror.
It's or there was one year where it was just there was a lot of found footage. So you pick up on these things. So I'd say
there's
overall,
trends, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. This year seemed quite serious.
There's lots of parent deaths. I thought lots of dead parents kicking about or not kicking.
Not kicking. Yeah.
Well, let's
anyone else notice that.
I mean, obviously, we haven't got the time today to go into every film in the festival, and like I said, we're not going to be over spoily with anything. But let's just I've got up there on the screen now a look at the first night, which was the 4 films that, the 3 films that kicked it off on the first night. What did we think about the Thursday night, the opening? Because I know that there's been some mixed reactions to these. Does anyone want to sort of start off with that? Clive?
Oh, sorry. You want me to take it? I can take it. I didn't watch all of the films on the main screen. I did a discovery one for one of these. So I watched Demonic, and then I watched on the discovery screen. I watched Hotel Poseidon, and then I came back for Crabs.
Right.
Did you get them?
Of those films, I would heartily recommend a case of Crabs, as it were.
It looked like a fun monster thing, didn't it?
It's lots of fun. It's super gory. It's quite sweet. It's sort of it's quite a warm-hearted film, and lots of. It's almost like Gremlins in tone in parts. Some of the sort of gory stuff reminded me of the Phantasm films. So
really?
Definitely.
Sounds like my cup of tea.
I think you'd enjoy it, Mike. I think you definitely enjoy that one. That's a lot of fun.
Love a good monster film.
I would say Hotel Poseidon, much more of an art house, experimental, weirdo, eraser-heady type thing, which was I knew going in that's what it was going to be. So that was fine, but it didn't really kind of stay with me, if you see what I mean. I understood what they were trying to do, but didn't really hit me, that one. And then candidate for one of the sort of most disappointing films of the festival would be Demonic, the Neil Blomkamp opener, which I think is on wide release at the moment, or just on streaming now? It's out, isn't it, that one?
Good question. Yeah,
I don't know.
You starred in that.
I think who starred in it?
Yeah,
nobody of that I knew.
It was Carly Pope and what was her name? Natalie Bolt, I think, off the top of my head. But it was.
Oh, okay.
It was. It was just okay. It wasn't. It was. I mean, good on him for this. This is a film that he got together during the during the lockdown, as it were. So didn't have the usual resources that he has on his films. He did try to do something a bit different here as well. This is a lot more serious than some of his other work. You know, you look at things like, you know, Chappie and District 9 or whatever, and they are, they're quite humorous, aren't they? Whereas this was a much more dark and serious film. But I didn't think it was particularly successful. For me, on the opening night, the Crabs was definitely the standout film, I think, because it had that, you know, it wasn't so bad that it was good. It was sort of intentionally done that way, to have that sort of really B-movie, cheesy B-movie feel. And I got the Gremlins thing from it for sure. And you know, that the filmmaker there really knew his audience. I think it was perfectly pitched to be that kind of fun horror monster movie that you kind of laugh at as well as get grossed out by in places. And it had a good ensemble of characters as well in that one.
What was that one that we saw at Fright Fest before that had like flying ants that shot all this white stuff at everybody or something? What was that called?
Yeah, I don't remember the title of that. I know the
film. Sting, was it?
Stung.
Sting one that stung?
Was it? With Lance Henriksen?
Don't know, but it was quite a fun. It was like a 50s, you know, like Them or something like that. It was a bit like a modern day version of that. That's the vibe I get from the trailer for Crabs. It's like this 50s type monster, like you say, B movie thing. Yeah, looks good.
No, that's good. That's another one that's on the digital edition on Wednesday, the 1st of September. So
yeah, I might watch that. Yeah,
no, it's worth your time, I would say. Okay, let's just sort of look at the Friday. So we started. On the Friday we had Brain Freeze, The Show, The Exorcism of Karen Faris, The Changed, Broadcast Signal, Intrusion, and Coming Home in the Dark. So quite a few films. Oh, we've been told what that is in the chat. Andrew Thomas has said, "Hi guys, It Came from the Desert" is the name of that.
Is it? Film. I thought that was the name of a video game made by Cinemaware that had the bugs in it.
Yeah, no, I do remember that from that. That was from a couple of years back, wasn't it? I think.
All right. So they must have nicked the title from that video game then.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Andrew, and thank you for watching the stream. It is appreciated.
Is that Andy Thomas?
It is.
Oh, hi Andy. How you doing?
So anybody watching, feel free to comment, and I will read it. And he's saying it was based on it. So you're right.
Oh, okay.
So
Andy knows his stuff. He's a Fright Fest regular who didn't come down this year. I was expecting him to pop down, and then he said he's going digital. So,
well, you know, it's good that option is there. So
absolutely.
So without going through all of these in any sort of detail, was there anything on the Friday that were big standouts for you guys?
I thought The Show was the best of those, entertainment-wise, and Broadcast Single Intrusion was probably the best made of them.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I with The Show, I enjoyed it. I just felt like it was trying to do too much in one film, was my sort of only criticism with that. I actually think that would have made a good mini series. And of course, this was based on an Alan Moore story. Is that right, Clive?
Alan Moore wrote the script. And if you are a fan of Alan Moore's work, I mean, obviously, famously, you know, he's written all kinds of stuff, From Hell, Watchmen, you know, brilliant run on Swamp Thing, you know, all the way through to, you know, Lost Girls, stuff like that. So if you're a fan, you know, then you're going to love this. It's very Alan Moore. I'll just leave it at that. That's all you need to know. It's very Alan Moore. I enjoyed this one as well. That's also on the digital edition, so you can watch that Wednesday, the 1st of September. So yeah, check that one out. I thought this was overall quite a strong day. I've got 3 films from this day in my top 10. The Show, Coming Home in the Dark, and Broadcast Signal Intrusion, which is a super paranoid conspiracy thing, where there's this kind of rogue signalers broken through onto a broadcast network with this really creepy film of like a sort of a robot or someone doing a robot dance while wearing a weird mask, and all this sort of distorted sound, and about this guy who kind of ends up going down this weird rabbit hole of like where he thinks that this signal intrusion is involved with the disappearance of some women who've gone, including someone who's close to him. So
yeah,
can't go too far into that without spoilers, I think. But
no, I'm glad you mentioned that though, Clive, because one of the things I think it's important to point out here about Broadcast Signal Intrusion is this is one of the first films that got produced off of the back of Frightfest's New Blood scheme.
Oh, did it?
Which I have to say, I'm going to be completely honest. I was as skeptical as anyone when they kind of announced that what they were running, which is essentially where filmmakers that have an idea, script writers that have an idea, can pitch it to a panel of industry professionals, and if the industry professionals like it, they actually take it, develop it, and get it made. And this film was one that had come from that scheme, which I believe Ian, well, all of the guys at Frightfest are behind, and the quality of this was extremely good. I thought that this film looked good. I definitely like the the genre and the style, and the fact that you had this whole conspiracy thing, along with some really sort of creepy visuals as well. So I think they did an incredibly good job on this, and it is encouraging for any filmmakers and script writers out there that have this idea, is if your idea is good enough and it's well enough developed and pitched, then it can get made into something that gets shown. And the production quality of this film was very good. So I liked it for one. Did you also see it, Andy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did think it was really well made, and like you say, the sort of fear of it being a new one, but it exceeded those, exceeded that, no problem.
Anything that myself or Clive didn't mention there that you had thoughts on?
Well, the changed was, not great, was it? The least said about that, the better, probably.
Yeah, the changed.
That one sticks in my mind for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say that premise-wise was really good. It also featured a really good performance by Tony Todd in this. It was just one of those films that I thought the pacing could have used some work, and it's a film that's setting up something that it doesn't necessarily get paid off, and I can't really say much more without going into spoilers, but yeah, it certainly wasn't a badly made film, and it had some interesting ideas. I just think it was maybe a tad too ambitious for the budget.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I think it's just, it's clearly a riff on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, with a bit of the original Night of the Living Dead thrown in, and although it makes a couple of interesting choices, and as you say, Tony Todd's very good. You want it to develop more. You want there to be an extra thing beyond what it starts with. And for me, it didn't go to an interesting place. So I'm sad to say.
Yeah.
But going back to Broadcast Signal Intrusion,
it just seemed to repeat itself, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree, Andy. it's Broadcast Signal Intrusion is part of the digital edition that's streaming on Thursday, 2nd September.
I'm really glad, Clive, that you've got that sussed at that end, because I wasn't prepared for any of that. So thank you very much for doing that. I mean, again, it was a pretty strong day in general. I do want to mention, though, because I particularly enjoyed the closing film of Friday, which was Coming Home in the Dark, which was a New Zealand thriller. And it was one of those films that I liked because it was just really tense and made you feel, quite uncomfortable. And you just didn't know where it was going. It's one of those. So I like those ones that, you're on the edge of your seat and you're wound like a tight wire and you're not sure where it's going to go or how it's going to end. And I thought that one was extremely well done. Any more thoughts on that one from you guys who saw it?
I didn't see that one, so
it's only you and me, Clive. Okay.
Yeah.
Andy was going home in the dark.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was. I agree. It's very well done. It's I would say, because we don't want to spoil anything, it does go to some very dark places, but not in a kind of not in a hey, look what I did there. But not in a kind of Wolf Creek tortury way. I don't think this so don't go in expecting that sort of dark film. It's much more it's sort of nasty in a different way. Is that fair to say, Keith? We can't really get into it too much.
No, you're right.
Just but just the setup is these a family kind of out on a trip in the wilderness, and they come across these two guys, and bad things happen. There's abduction. There's lots of nasty violence. So we'll leave it at that.
Yes, indeed. I think that's a good place to leave that one for sure. But by the way, I'm just realizing the way this is let out on their screen, unfortunately, it's not broke. You get one day sort of lapped, and then it kind of falls into the next one, so it doesn't fit the screen quite properly here. But so Saturday the 28th.
Saturday 28th. Sorry. Coming Home in the Dark, also available on the digital format. If you want to watch that one, that's Thursday the 2nd of September as well.
Hello
Brilliant.
to Greg in the chat, by the way.
Yes, hello, Greg.
Hello to Greg.
Kobasa. Hi there. Thank you for joining us and commenting. It's appreciated. Okay, so Saturday. Any broad thoughts on this?
Dawn Breaks Behind the Eyes I quite liked, but I kept sort of going in and out of liking because it did go rather strange, which I do normally like, but it was a bit jarring, I thought. And then Off Season, I think, was my favourite that day. And Prisoners of Ghostland was just sort of mad and Nicolas Cagey.
Yeah.
And then we won't talk about the one I didn't like. Hopefully, the last thing Mary saw, which was difficult to get through.
Yeah.
Did you nod off?
A little bit. I wanted to leave, but
yeah.
Well,
being right in the middle, I felt I couldn't really leave, and I felt I shouldn't leave, but it was tough, and not in a violent, tough way. It was tough that it was dull, and I just couldn't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I have to say, production value wise and whatever, it was an extremely well made film. I can't knock that with it, but I know what you mean. It was kind of slow, and it had that slot where you're tired from the night before. You've had something to eat by that point, and I think it was quite warm in the cinema on that day. So I found myself fighting a little to stay with that as well. But it's not to say it was a bad film. Did you see any others? Did any of you see any others in the main screen on this day?
I saw all the ones in the main screen except for Sweetie You Won't Believe It. When I was in the Discovery screen for that one, I saw Are We Monsters instead. So yeah. For me,
as did I.
You know, I thought it was a kind of solid day. The one that stuck out for me the most was The Maid, which is the late film.
Yeah.
Which is maybe, you know, which is one of the most successful kind of pure horror movies, I think, at the festival. A lot of really good genre movies, you know, some more thrillery and some more sci-fi. But in terms of just horror and nastiness and violence and blood, the Maid was one of the best. It was definitely
It must be Japanese then.
Yes, it was a J horror.
Yeah, it's and there's some without spoiling it, there's some nice reveals to it. There's some, yeah, it goes to it has a nice build, and then it goes fully like crazy bonkers towards the end. Yes. I think I can say that. So yeah, I definitely would recommend that one.
Yeah. I have to mention, as I think I might be the only one on the stream here that saw this, Sweetie You Won't Believe It was a film from Kazakhstan. And it was, I mean, I go into all of these completely, you know, unlike you, Clive. I know you do loads of research and, you know, check things out and know all about them. I don't know about all about them, but I treat Frightfest where I just sit there and, you know, get sort of swept up in the narrative of it all, and it either works or it doesn't. And this one was a real surprise for me because I went in thinking, oh, I'm not going to enjoy this, because I think they in the program they pitch it as Carry On Deliverance.
That's
and
right.
I thought, oh, I don't know about that. But it's actually incredibly entertaining, very, very amusing. You know, and it's quite funny because it's just about basically a load of you know, guys that won't grow up, basically, that are on this like weird adventure. And there's some real, you know, sick body gore and stuff in it, but it's actually very funny, and I was actually quite impressed. I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, and also the other thing that they've been doing at the festival this year is they did have some short films, and there was a short film before this by Alex Poyas, who did Dark City, and he did a short film that was kind of almost like kind of a sequel to that was on before this. And the production values, that was all made, he said, you know, because of technology now, he's able to do most of this stuff without a big studio. And that looked and was very good, but unfortunately it ended on a cliffhanger, which was a bit annoying because God knows when we'll see the rest of them. But yeah, they did play some shorts during this as well.
Yeah, when was that taxidermy one? Because I like that one. Taxidermy musical. Sorry? Was that Friday? The taxidermist one. The musical.
Oh, short. Yes, I know the one you mean.
The short stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Short film. Yeah. It was called Stuffed. Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. I think that was Friday. I think
it was Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good shout, Andy. Yeah, Sweetie You Won't Believe It is on is on as part of the digital festival on Friday, the September 3rd. So I think I know that the organisers said we were getting a lot of the kind of Q&As and intros along with the sort of digital one. So maybe we'll get the short film as well. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely if you just want a bit of fun, if you want to laugh, you know, it's, you know, it's very slapstick, it's very silly, and you know, there's lots of sort of body gore and stuff in it, and it's got quite memorable characters. So it's a bit of a sort of character piece. But who knew, you know, that would actually be quite fun. Andy, you mentioned Off Season. I do want to talk about that slightly as well, because I thought that was a film that build-up wise was absolutely fantastic. I loved the lead actress in it. I thought her performance was incredible. But it just, for me, it was one of those films that ended up just not quite finishing great. And again, we can't really say why without spoilers. But did you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with. I think it did. I think it did peter out a little bit, and like quite a few of them seem to want to end and then carried on for a bit longer, and that was one of them, from what I remember.
Yeah, some of them outstayed their welcome a bit.
Yeah,
and this is probably one of them. I do want to mention though, Jocelyn Donahue was the main actress in this, and I was all the way through it racking my brain on where do I know her from. She's fantastic, but where do I know her from? And I actually know her during lockdown. I watched a Amazon series called Startup, which is kind of a thriller series. Again, well worth your time if you've got it. Martin Freeman stars in it as well as Adam Brody, and she had a recurring role in that, and that's what I remembered her from eventually. But yeah, that's good.
It had a lot of atmosphere, definitely, and it just that's one of those ones where it's kind of like a Southern Gothic. She has to go back to her home place where her mother grew up, and which is this island, and then she gets trapped on the island, which is like a big tourist place, but it's now shut down for the off season, and there's a bridge which raises, and you know, there's all this sort of wind and extreme weather going on and fog. So yeah, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, but
as we all are.
Felt like an 80s sort of classic 80s thing at certain points. I felt
it was definitely sort of it's definitely
thing to me.
Say again.
It's like a Cthulhu thing.
Well, to sort of answer that, Mike would be spoilery. So I'll tell you afterwards. But it's definitely set kind of pre-cell phone age, you know. So I think they're trying to evoke that a bit, certainly.
Yeah. Which they were trying to do with a lot of stuff in this festival. Actually, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of set in that analog to digital period, you know, often to suit the stories, but
broadcast signal intrusion, another good example.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, I appreciate, you know, obviously we're talking about films at the moment that you haven't seen, but let me ask you, what are your thoughts on Nicolas Cage?
Well, I saw The Colour Out of Space, and that was all right. But I know that is it Sion Sono or whatever his name is the director of that. The latest
Prisoners
one
of the Ghostland,
yeah. I mean, I watched one of his films because he's a Japanese filmmaker that shot some stuff in and around Tokyo and that, and his films look very colourful and stylish. But there seems to, I think he tries to be a bit of a David Lynch, Japanese David Lynch. That's my impression. And if you're then going to throw Nicolas Cage in it, then you're going to get a very bizarre film.
Yes, which is
and
exactly
some people like that. Yep. And you know, I mean, Cage's next film is about him being a pig farmer that goes searching for his pig that gets stolen. So
exactly,
he's had a bit of a resurgence lately, hasn't he? Bit of a renaissance for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this film was fun. Again, it was one I thought was slightly overlong, but it was bizarre because it was kind of like sort of, you know, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome meets Big Trouble in Little China. It was kind of had all these sort of weird references like that going on, and it had a setup that was a little bit sort of escape from New York in its sort of premise. But I'll be honest,
what's the one the Cage
was
was in where he's in a theme park recently? What was that one? Where he's in
Willy's
a theme
Wonderland.
park? Is that good?
I haven't seen it. I just know the title.
Sorry,
I've
Keith.
seen Pig.
I want to see that because that looks very colourful and Nicolas Cagey, where he goes a bit ape shit everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this one I thought was okay. I think others on this stream probably enjoyed it more than I did. Prisoners of Ghostland. I don't know, Andy. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it wasn't as I expected it to be. More, it was almost not enough cagey. What there was a bit too much of the samurai element and the Thunderdome element. I wanted more Cage sort of raging, and there was some, but not enough. I don't think. Do I want too much? I don't know.
No, Clive. What about you? I think you.
I think I probably enjoyed it most out of us because I just thought it was great fun. It was like a big slice of kind of like samurai western infused sort of action stuff, and Nick Cage is on the sort of more big performance end of the spectrum in this film. So I mean, it's no Mandy, but it is a lot of fun, and I think I think if the sort of like the non-Nick Cagey moments are full of samurai action, then I'm quite happy with that myself.
Yeah, fair enough. I think he's going to have a new catchphrase after this one as well.
Yeah.
Yes, which let's not spoil that.
I won't ruin that, but that is very funny. By the way, before we move on to another film, just a question here in the chat. So Greg has asked, has anyone seen the horror film Thunderpants? I haven't.
I don't think so.
No.
Sorry, Greg.
Isn't that the kids' superhero film? I think that might be a reference, Keith, to what we're trying to sort of not spoil, if you see what I mean.
Oh, okay. There was irony there that I wasn't picking up on, was there? Yeah.
Maybe, but I haven't seen Thunderpants, so maybe there's something I'm not picking up on as well.
And Andrew has also commented, hated Willis Wonderland, Cage in a non-speaking role.
All right.
Don't know that one.
Willy's Wonderland, that's the new one, isn't it? That's an interesting choice if he's not saying anything the whole film.
Because that's kind of his thing, isn't it?
That's kind of his thing.
Oh, I did like. I must say, I like the fact. I wonder whether he had that Elvis '68 outfit on. I wonder whether he requested that because I know he's a big Elvis.
Maybe. I thought it was very Elvis. Yeah.
Not that I answered that, but I'm just curious.
Elvis with modifications, but again, those are spoilery. So
yeah, that's a spoiler.
Yeah,
I won't go there. And I have to agree. The closing film on Saturday, The Maid, which we've already touched on, J-horror film, but yeah, fabulous, massively gripping, and one of those where it turns out to be something different to what you think it's going to be, which I always like that kind of film as well. So I would highly recommend that also.
Is that on the digital event?
Is it?
I don't think that one is. No.
What a shame.
Something.
I'm just double checking, and no, it's not. But definitely look out for that one.
Yeah, something tells me that will definitely get a release. So. Moving on to Sunday, so we had King Knight, Sound of Violence, Gaia, Evie, and No Man of God. So, anything amongst those that stand out that you want to mention?
Well, I liked Gaia. Based on as I said to you at the time, the recent reading I'd done on mushrooms and funguses, spores, and all that, which I know sounds crazy, but that because that was a theme in there, that just made me enjoy it more than I think probably everyone else in the cinema.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I thought that had some interesting ideas and wasn't a bad film. Again, seemed a little. I got a bit bored in the middle, if I'm honest. I thought the pacing could have done with a bit of work, but good performances and it looked really good. So yeah.
Yeah, sort of. It's like an just for people who come into it not knowing what that's about. It's kind of an eco horror thing, a little bit folk horror-y, but mostly eco horror, I'd say. Maybe a couple of things in common with that sort of recent Ben Wheatley film, In the Earth.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're talking about mushrooms and spores and stuff, it looked like the trailer for In the Earth looked quite good. I didn't get to see it actually. It was only on for 1 week in the cinema, and then it was gone, which is unfortunate. But,
I don't. For me, it wasn't as successful as In the Earth, but there's some good stuff. I did see In the Earth. Yeah.
Was it good?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, because I like his movies.
Ben Wheatley. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley. Yeah. I missed the first couple of films in this one because I just come in a bit later, but there was one of them I wanted to sort of flag up, which was Consult's Notes. No Man of God, which is the later film with which is the Elijah Wood starring film based on the true story about the profiler who interviewed serial killer Ted Bundy in the sort of 70s through to 80s.
Well, I would have enjoyed that. I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, it was extremely well done because it was that old thing. I know you mentioned this, Andy, about the fact that, we've had a lot of, over the years, and particularly in more recent years, we've had a lot of Ted Bundy stuff. We've had the Zac Efron film, we've had the the true crime series. There's been quite a bit about this, but what was nice about this one is this was in his time leading up to his execution and the time that he was incarcerated rather than the time that he was out doing all these murders and that sort of thing. So I kind of it almost felt like a sequel to those other films in some respects. If you were sort of building a Ted Bundy universe of films and series, this would be like the concluding chapter. And very good performance by Elijah Wood as the attorney. Would that be his role? No, the profiler, wasn't it? He was supposed to be
the FBI
profiler. And the guy who played Bundy in this was it Luke Kirby? I think was the name of the actor. Really good performance as well. I thought the pair of them acted off each other very well. I mean,
sorry, Key. I was just going to say. Essentially, most of the film was just two people in a room.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's that. And if you do that poorly, that could be quite dull, right? And you think, well, why go to the big screen to experience that? But it was very well directed. I'm afraid I don't have the director's name to hand here, but I know she's done some good stuff before.
Yeah, Amber. Oh God. Sorry, I'll look her up quickly.
Yeah,
I think it's Amber.
It's kind of made it very intense and claustrophobic, and it's just very nicely done drama in that sort of Zodiac kind of vein.
Yeah, Amber Seeley is the director on this, and she did do an incredibly good job because, as you've rightly said. This could be, it is essentially most of the film just two people in a room talking, but because of the performances and the way it's framed and everything, it works really well. And I think it's quite nice that it's sort of delving into the early days of FBI profiling. Obviously, we get that a lot in movies nowadays, but I thought it was great that it touched on that as well. I do also want to mention. I think I was the only one on here that saw this, but the second film was called The Sound of Violence, and I thought this was quite an interesting film. It's about a young girl who loses her hearing at 10, and her family are murdered, and that visceral experience sort of wakens other senses within her, and it's quite an edgy sort of thriller, starring good performance by Jasmine Savoy Brown in the lead role, and her friend's played by Lily Simmons, who I know from I was a big fan of the show Banshee, and she's one of the actresses in that. But directed by Alex Noyer, and I thought this was a really good film. It was based on a short film that he had done called Conductor, that apparently Frightfest actually rejected the short film, but when he got it made into this feature, they made it part of the lineup. But I think that deserves an honourable mention, because I was very entertained by it, and I thought the performances, etc., in this were very strong as well. And it was something a little bit different, quite weird, but in a good way. And then also we got we better mention it. We got Evie in this as well, which was the latest film from Dominic Blunt. That is his name, isn't it?
Brunt.
Dominic
Brunt. And,
Blunt.
yeah, I couldn't remember. But I've not been. I'll be honest. I've not been particularly a fan of his other films, but this one was actually a very good story and quite an inspiring, intriguing film. So I think it definitely deserves a mention. I
thought Bait was very good.
Okay.
Dominic Brunt's film called Bait. That was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, Mike. I thought Bait was very good. I mean, that was very much a sort of revenge thriller. This one has more supernatural elements, but so he is trying something different with each film he does. And in this one, he collaborated with the with a co-director, and they shot it using anamorphic lenses. Found these great locations. I think it's the Welsh coast.
That's right.
So yeah, it looks great, and has a real atmosphere to it. So it's definitely one of his better films.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's definitely worth a watch, this one, and some beautiful UK locations used in that as well. Okay. Well, that obviously we've done a very sort of just overview there. I've got the feeling we'll probably talk the most though about Monday's films, the last day's films, because obviously we all saw these. Mike was here for this one as well. And by the way, Andrew Thomas is saying in the chat that no love for Attack of the Adult Babies.
No, Andrew, no love for that. No.
Even his co-director was taking the mickey out of that when they were in the Q&A, wasn't he? So yeah, I don't think anybody likes that film. But anyway, if you disagree, then please put.
I'm sure there's a cult of people that love it. It is. I mean, he clearly made the film he wanted to make. There, it's just deeply strange film. Anyway,
so
moving on
into the final day, and I think that this was a pretty strong day. I know I've said that for most of them, but this really was a great day to end on. So let's just go through them one at a time, I guess. So we started with the Retaliators, which I really, really enjoyed. I've got to be honest. We got a Frightfest cap. We got a Retaliators cap, didn't we? Care of Frightfest. When we saw this,
and a T-shirt,
and a huge T-shirt.
And a bag, and a sticker, and a badge. Also, I got everything, mate.
They went all out on the merch for this one for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a good time with this. It was not. I went into it again not knowing much about it, not knowing what to expect. But oh, nice, Clive. Hold on, let's bring that up to full screen. There we go.
There we go.
Sticker as well. But yeah. What did you think, guys?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done and had that kind of, it was that horror thing I was looking for, really. You know, the usual violence and bloodshed and ridiculous over the top gore that we won't spoil. So yeah, it all worked really. And it was kind of advertised as a heavy metal kind of thing, but that element wasn't really a major part of it. And it wasn't really heavy metal, it was more sort of dad rock. But
I think, yeah.
But it wasn't a main theme, which it seemed to advertise it being, which was a bit off-putting, but it wasn't that.
I don't know. I think if you're a fan, then there are some key cameos from like rocks, like kind of metal luminaries in the film, right? And the whole soundtrack has got sort of metal stuff in it. Not the most heavy stuff. Not that I'm
a lot of it's new metal, Clive.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, you got new metal, so maybe a bit of Motley Crue or something, because you got Tommy Lee, the drummer, was in it, in the bartender. But most of it's Papa Roach and stuff like that. That's all like new metal, just so you know.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Which is basically like heavy metal without guitar solos.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a really good crime thriller. With some gore and horror genre stuff in there. But what I thought was good is I felt the character development was quite good on this, because they made the protagonist of this sort of instantly likable, right? So you're really with him on this journey.
Yeah.
And I just thought that there was some, you could see that there was love that was put into this film. I know it sounds weird, but sometimes you can tell when there's a kind of a lot of love put into something. And I feel that this film was a labor of love for those for all involved. I don't know whether that was just me, but I kind of got that feeling from it. Maybe the intro that we had with the cast and crew interviews added to that. But I just sort of I was quite on board with this one.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Sorry, Mike, you go ahead.
Yeah, I liked it. First film of the day, and I thought, unfortunately, I thought the pastor, the main guy, was a little bit too young to be the dad of the girl that something happened to. That's the only thing that I found jarring, was that he's a bit like there's only 10 years difference between him and his child, which, apart from being a bit twisted, was it just didn't really resonate with me. But other than that, I like the rest of it. I think it did a certain thing at the beginning of the film that made you thought that it was going in a really strange, obscure direction.
Yeah, I was going to say about that, Mike. But
that was impressive that they did sort of subvert your expectations. But then when you saw what the real thrust of the story was really going on, then it sort of all made sense. And it did all make sense. And that's what I liked about it. Sometimes I don't like these films where it doesn't make bloody sense,
Yeah. Well, the actor producer, by the way, will probably be very pleased if he ever hears this, Mike, because he is actually 46. So
he must have used Just for Men then, because in the intro he looked like really grey and would carry off that role. But in the film, he must have used some dye in his hair or something to make him look younger, which is bizarre.
Okay.
I thought he was old enough because he was in Rescue Me, and that was some time ago.
Yeah, I just didn't. He looked too young to me. He had his foppish hair and all that sort of stuff, and he just looked like he's either that or his daughter looked too old.
He was a leading man, dude.
Yeah,
with a 17-year-old daughter.
Some of us are just blessed with youthful looks.
Well, you're not. So anyway, it was good, and it had some good vibes. And I really liked the guy who played the policeman. I thought his gravelly voice and he was funny because in the Zoom meeting that they showed as a preamble to this film, he looked about 60 years old, but in the film he totally didn't. So it just goes to show you grow a few beards and grow your hair out, and it can totally change the look, your age, the way you look,
Indeed, yeah, that was.
I thought he was a good actor as well. I really liked his role in that.
Yeah, actor Mark Menchaca was the actor who plays that character in it, and it was also good. As you well know, I'm a Prison Break fan, so it was good to see Robert Nepper turn up in it as well in a fairly small part, but still good to see him in there. So he played Teabag in Prison Break. But,
oh God, don't like the sound of that.
Well, so yeah, that was quite a good start to the day. But Mike,
then it went downhill.
I was going to say you didn't enjoy the next film, did you?
Well, apart from nearly nodding off halfway through, I decided to walk out because it was just boring the crap out of me.
Okay, this was Slapface.
Yeah.
Which, well, I mean, it was a film that was dealing with domestic abuse, basically, wasn't it?
There wasn't enough abuse for my liking, though.
Well, maybe if you'd stayed longer, Mike, you might have got more of it. I didn't. I thought it, again, like I've said about a few of the films here, a little over bloated in places. I kind of got a little bit drifty myself in the middle of it, but I didn't think it was a bad movie.
Kids couldn't act, though. The kids' acting weren't very good, I didn't think. And when you got kids and they're saying their lines really flat, it's a little bit annoying, really.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fair comments, but
and I did think that the comment from the director at the beginning about how he's thought about the film and that he almost sort of gave it all away, so I wasn't really interested in watching the film.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
thought,
that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that one of the mistakes I felt with this was I think that they showed there is a monster in this film, and it looks quite a good creature design and stuff, but they brought it into the story and showed it a little early, in my opinion. But there were reasons that they did that, which I totally appreciate that they had to do. But I don't know. Has anybody got any other thoughts on this, Clive or
yeah? I'm going to be dissenting opinion here because I thought this was a good film.
Okay.
For God's sakes.
Hey, look, it's just my take on it.
I know.
I found it really absorbing. I found it quite an affecting tale of this boy. He's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, being raised by his older brother because their parents have gone, and sort of making this weird friendship with. He's kind of bullied from all sides as well. And then he kind of makes friends with this monster. So the fact that you kind of you do see the monster isn't beyond the sort of initial bit. It's not about because he has to form this bond with it. We need to see it. So I thought that was fair enough. I mean, it goes to some sort of quite. There are some dark themes, and it does go there, and I respected that. I also thought it's always good to see character actor Dan Hedaya in there in this playing sort of much younger than his years, I think, as a sheriff, and doing a fantastic job. So
he was in Commando, wasn't he?
He was in Commando.
He was in Commando, yes.
Yeah.
And Blood Simple, is another great role from him. So he always elevates the film for me. And So what can I say? I like that one. Clearly, I'm in a minority, but yeah.
Well, and what did you think?
You like what you like.
Yeah.
I liked it to a point which I can't say because it spoils it. But it got to a point, and then it lost me then. But I
Okay.
did like Dan Hedaya. He definitely is old enough to have a 17-year-old daughter.
He definitely is.
Oh, yeah, 17-year-old granddaughter as well.
Yeah.
I think.
No, it just kind of petered off, and again was a bit repetitive.
Hmm.
I thought after that.
I was definitely nodding off at about third of the way through it.
I think that's the point you walked out, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's when you walked out.
About halfway, I think I went. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well,
Oh well.
then we got a film that I know has caused a lot of discussion between us and other members of the audience, Ultrasound. Anyone want to sort of kick off with that one? I thought this was good, but anybody want to expand on that?
I'll kick off with it because it's fun. It's one of those ones where it's difficult. You want to talk about it, set it up without, but A, kind of going into it without spoiling it, and B, talking about it in such a way that you sound like you're making some sort of sense. Let's just say that it's a mystery conspiracy thriller. Okay.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. It's got this brilliant opening scene where this guy is driving back from a wedding, and someone's left like nails on the road, and he drives over them, and he has to spend the night in this isolated place with this strange married couple, and then but there are already little hints of things aren't quite what they seem, and then things take a turn. And I think for me, this is my film of Frightfest. I loved this. I thought it was great, and it kept, because I just didn't know where it was going throughout. It just kept going into unexpected places, and there was times when I'm like confused and thinking what's going on, but I was never like, it didn't take me out of it. It just kind of brought me more in, because I was just wanting to kind of like, well, how does that connect up with that? And then for me, it did all come together at the end. I still feel like if I rewatched it, I'd get more connections and things, because I still, I had some questions about sort of certain threads at the end. When we had a big kind of round table, like, what do you think that meant? What do you think that meant? But for me, that meant we were all really engaged with it. So it was great fun.
Now, it's definitely one of those films that could do with another watch, I think, because it's one of those that you can watch multiple times and see different things, or look at it from different points of view. And I particularly liked, anyone who knows my short films knows that I like titles that have double meanings. And, this certainly had that as well, didn't it? So,
It did.
Any other thoughts, Mike?
Brilliant film.
You liked it?
It was great. Yeah, it was intriguing, and it all made sense in the end, and it kept you guessing and kept you off balance. And I felt that it sort of kept you off balance in the same way that the characters were experiencing it in the film, which I thought was really impressive. Like the edit, the getting the edit right must have been really tricky, getting everything all in the right order so that it worked, and it was a great little story, and it was top film, and that's my joint favorite film of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andy, anything to add that you guys haven't?
It's certainly one that I've thought about more than many of the other ones since then, and in the same way, wanted to go back and revisit it. So I wasn't overly sure, but it was. I was maybe confused by some of it, but it's stuck with me. Yeah,
it's definitely a mind bender of a film. And again, quality wise, very well made, nicely performed, and it was actually quite good because I didn't really know any of the actors in it, and sometimes that can help actually if it is people who are relatively unknown. I don't know whether any of you knew any of the actors in this film.
One of them.
I recognised one of them. Yeah,
right.
The guy who is the married couple, the older guy. Him.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen him before. Yeah, he's good acting.
Yeah, no, it was good. Okay, so
that one's in the digital edition of Frightfest, Sunday the 5th of September. I'm really tempted to watch that again. Like,
yeah. No, can you get individual films, or do
you
have
can.
to-
Yes.
You can. Okay, yeah. Well, I might well do the same actually, because there's definitely things that I ended up confused by, even though I enjoyed the film. I was like, I'm not sure about what that was. So
there are some films, and it's one of the great things about Fright Fest is you watch all these films back to back, but then there are some where they're almost a casualty of you having like not had much sleep, or like not being caffeinated enough, or because if this is the sort of film where if you nodded off for like a second, then you would miss some key thing, right? Because it's a film where it doesn't over explain itself. You have to pay attention.
Yes.
In a good way.
No, I think that's very fair. And then moving on, so obviously one of the things Fright Fest does, which is fantastic, and again, Alan, Paul, Greg, and Ian, hats off to them all for this. Is they don't only they show horror films, films within that genre, but from all around the world. And the last two films we had were both films not in the English language, as they say, at the awards ceremony. But again, a couple of let's take them one at a time. The Advent Calendar. I really enjoyed this. A French thriller movie, and I don't know about you guys, but I thought this was strong as well. By the way, before we get into that, Andrew Thomas, thank you very much. It's just confirmed that it's £8.50 for a single ticket if you want to watch any of the digital Fright Fest films, which can all be found at frightfest.co.uk. So please check that out.
And they've got, and there are some premieres on there as well, stuff that wasn't shown at the main Fright Fest festival. I know one of the films we've been sort of looking forward to is one called Lair, isn't it, Keith? Which
is it Lair or Liar?
It's Lair, yeah. So I don't think any relation to the James Herbert book. So, no. But yeah, that's one to check out as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's good that they're doing that, and obviously, it gives the chance. I'm thinking some of the films that were in the Discovery screen are going to be included in this as well.
Oh yes, yeah, there are definitely quite a few of those. Yeah,
yeah. And if you're watching this and don't know what the hell we're talking about, as I said, please go to frightfest.co.uk, and all is explained on the website there. But okay, so who wants to kick off about the Advent Calendar? Because again, I think this is one we all enjoyed, right?
Yeah. I think this is my favourite of the whole thing for me.
In that case, take it away, Andy.
Okay.
Let's start with you.
Well, it just sort of ticked all the boxes for me, really. It was a horror film, proper horror film. Not really nasty or anything, but it was old style scary, had a nice theme going through it. You're intrigued to see each bit of it with the Advent Calendar, which I think is, without spoiling, self-explanatory that there's doors to open.
Well, a very cool prop as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I actually thought the design and build of that was actually quite impressive as well. But yeah.
It just said everything really for me.
Cool. Mike?
Yeah, I thought it was my joint
it's my last one, I didn't
best film.
Sorry, what was that, Andy?
My favourite. So as I didn't get to see the final one, because I had transport issues, it was a good ending for me as well.
Great. Sorry, Mike.
Cool.
Sorry, I was saying that's my joint best film of the day, because what I thought was really good was that, without being politically correct or anything, which I'm normally not, to actually have a film about someone who's a paraplegic in a wheelchair and all the sort of daily struggles that they would encounter if they're on their own and things like that, and then bring into the mix the mystical element of this sort of machine stroke advent calendar thing that someone gives her is really really interesting idea to me, and it was just great. It was very well made, very well shot. It clearly had a budget, and the actress was fantastic in it. The girl that was, in fact, everyone was really good in it.
Agreed.
And some nasty people have some nasty things happen to them. There's only one rule that I thought that they broke, which they shouldn't have broke, which was something to do with dogs. But there you go.
It does also make me think, my God, in France, the HR and political correctness in the workplace is clearly not what it is in other countries.
No. Well,
and also, yeah, but anyway, she gets treated.
It's about someone also being taken advantage of because of their disability and being pushed around, not literally as you would in a wheelchair, but being pushed around and treated like a second-class citizen, which I'm sure a lot of disabled people probably feel like, really.
So it was about something, wasn't it? As well,
and then they merged the horror and the fantasy elements with it as well, and some other sort of really interesting observations on people getting old and just attitudes of different people at different ages and things. It ticked a lot of really interesting. It went down a lot of interesting little avenues, but still have that focus of this Advent calendar, which to my mind, it had a little bit of a Hellraiser vibe about it.
Yeah. That's a good observation. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think
it's a great film. Really worth watching.
I think this was supposed to have come out last Christmas, but obviously, I know Universal is behind this one. This was one that a big distributor is behind, and I think this is possibly getting a general release for this year for this Christmas, I'm guessing. Clive, any additions to that? Anything key that we missed, or anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo what people are saying in that it's just a very well made horror movie. It does what you want. It gives you some really good set pieces. Just this sort of general theme of the sort of temptation, and almost like wish mastery. You kind of like be careful what you wish for. And this sort of like idea that you can have what you want, but then certain sacrifices are going to have to be made. I mean, the title might make you think this is quite a Christmassy film, but it's not really. It's just obviously set during Advent, but it's it's not especially Christmassy, is it? But
no. Not at all. I'll be honest again, because I did no research and just go into this blind. I was expecting a, like a US Christmas anthology horror film, because they do show those sort of things often at Frightfest. And I went
like 24 short films or something all bundled together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and what we got was actually quite different, but in a good way. So it was again one of the highlights, I would say, of this festival was this particular film, actually. So I
turned up on the right day.
I could say one we all seem to agree on, which is quite nice that it's actually one that we all seem to agree on as well. So now, Andy, I know you didn't see this, and because this was the last film, myself, Mike, and Clive haven't really talked about this one, so I'm interested to see what the thoughts were on The Sadness, which was the closing movie. And if I think you made a comment, Andy, at the beginning about overall as a festival, it lacked a bit of horror and a bit of blood. And I would say that this film probably made up for all of them.
Well, like this one and the Maid, combined. Yeah.
Okay, I've got to ask you guys, what did you think about this?
I thought it was very well made. It's no Train to Busan, but what I thought was good was it sort of did zombies, but it left some humanity in them that made them more malevolent and more of a threat.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Clive?
Where do you start with this one?
Well, I think we need to point out this is a Taiwanese film, right? This.
Yes, yeah, and it's obviously it's set there. I think Canadian director, so it's an interesting mesh of sensibilities there.
Yeah. Rob Shabazz was actually there to introduce it as well, wasn't he? He made
which is cool.
To come and introduce it.
Yeah, so it is another one of these kind of viral outbreaks. This kind of rate, this there's some sort of contemporary sort of satire-y stuff, commenting, where they clearly either added it in as they were kind of making it, to sort of, it did feel very of the moment, in terms of like this outbreak, right, and lots of stuff to do with that, and whether people were believing they should be take this new outbreak seriously, and it comes out because it's in an election year and they don't want to sort of isolate again. And so there was that strand to it, but then there's the other strand where it was just like an extremely kinetic, hyper violent, hypersexual like fast zombie film. And as Mike say, he had this extra wrinkle in that, it basically, the virus turns people into sort of sex crazed sadists. So you get like, we're not going to spoil various set pieces. I think we're going to, but it does go into some pretty sort of extreme territory.
Yeah.
For me, I was with it all the way through, but it's a pretty misanthropic film. It's quite equal opportunity in terms of its sort of like who is like the violence is done to, who is the rape done to, who is the nastiness done to. Mm-hmm. But it's clear, the director said he wasn't trying to push buttons, but they haven't sort of shied away from from stuff. Although there is one particular extreme sequence where he cuts away, and I guess feeling that you don't need to see that part because you know what's happening. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know whether when I watched it, I mean, it definitely had a reaction on me in terms of it made me cringe and wince and almost want to look away. So, in terms of, one could argue that makes it really good horror then, yeah. I did wonder in a couple of places whether it went a tad too far though. And I don't know. I mean, is there such a thing?
That's weird, Keith, because I didn't think it went far enough because
which is why we got all this, like, isn't it?
No, we got all this thing. Oh, it's this, it's that. It's going to be extreme, but it's no Serbian film. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've seen more extreme stuff than this, and in fact, a lot of it was just like bodies covered in gallons of blood, done in fast close-ups and cuts, and you can see what the fuck was going on anyway. Yeah, so, lots of clarity. And not once did I ever see a pair of balls cut off or a penis chopped off, hacked off, or anything. I was expecting that, and I didn't see any of that. So I think actually, if anything, I didn't. If you're the film censor, I'm like, well, I've seen worse. Thought Train to Busan was more graphic than that was.
Yeah, actually, also you mentioning that's made me remember that was actually in another film, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, what film was that?
I think it might have been. Was it Crabs? I don't know.
I didn't see that.
Let's not try and think what it is, because that's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it? So yeah.
But anyway, all I'm saying is I didn't think I didn't think it delivered on the over the top, other than the fact there was gallons of blood everywhere. You know, the blood, they do make, the Oriental films do make blood look really good, don't they? With the grading or whatever and the makeup, you know, so they know how to do blood and gore, but you know, it didn't really. I was like, I saw some woman in front of me, she was like, you know, wincing and all this sort of stuff. You know, these are people that just coming to see that one film, I think. And they were like a little bit, but there again, I'm as I said, as I'm told very often, my barometer is out of whack compared to most people when it comes to stuff like that.
Do you think it was a good one to end the festival on? Because that's always a tricky
It's fine
film, isn't it?
It's fine, you know, but as I said, it's no. I thought I enjoyed Train to Busan as a film more than that film.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
I think it was more inventive. This thing, it went on a bit. It just went on and was a bit like just more of the same shit all the time. And it's like, you know, there wasn't much in the way of story, was there really?
No.
It's pretty simple story. You've got this likable central couple. They get split up in the middle of this pandemic, and then they have to try and reconnect through all of the craziness. And then there's a bit of a side plot about possible, you know, about to do with the science of it, and you know, maybe there's some people are immune, but really it's not really interested in that. It's interested in getting to the next set piece.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, unless you guys have got anything sort of major to add, I mean, do you want to do, you know, favorite film of the, I mean, most of you have said it, I think, but favorite film of the festival, or is that, I find it very hard to choose actually, but
I'd say the Advent Calendar probably edges Ultrasound, because Ultrasound actually was not violent at all, really.
Right.
As a proper horror film, I thought Advent Calendar, as Andy said, ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
But obviously I haven't seen all the other films, so you guys have got a lot more to choose from.
Yeah. Clive, anything?
I will just add, I mean, in terms of like the best horror film that was shown at the festival that I've seen, I didn't watch. They had a like a live commentary being done for Prano Bailey Bond's movie Censor, which is out at the moment, and I actually watched that the day of the first day of the festival, as a kind of like to get myself in the mood, and that is a fantastic horror movie.
Oh, is it?
Especially, Censor,
Yeah.
and which really kind of like taps into that kind of video nasty thing, and has some really good psychological stuff going on as well. It's just shot beautifully. It's just a really good horror movie. So I didn't go to the Q&A. It's the sort of live commentary version, but I believe Prano Bailey Bond won the Screen International Award this year for sort of like best new voice in horror that they have every year at Frightfest. So and on the basis of that, it's clearly well deserved. So yeah,
I'll check that out on my Cineworld.
Definitely do. That is a proper horror film. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Andy, anything to add?
Only that I wasn't crazy about Censor when I saw it, but
actually, seeing as Clive's recommending it, I might have to just go and see Candyman instead.
Well, I want to see Candyman, the new Candyman.
Yeah, that looks good, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does.
Indeed. Okay. Well, I mean, this was all a bit impromptu and last minute. But I think we've had sort of a fairly broad discussion. Hopefully we haven't ruined anything for anyone, but maybe we've inspired viewers out there to actually watch some of these films. I know I certainly enjoyed Frightfest this year and loved being back in the cinema so much. As I said, I bought the T-shirt, and there is going to be another one at Halloween, this coming Halloween, which I'd like to go to for sure.
I'll be there, Keith.
Yeah, so
it's going to be a two-dayer as well.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting to confirm that, but yeah, it certainly looks like that. Yeah, it's great.
Well, Alan confirmed it when they said goodbye in our screen.
Fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, he said it's a two-dayer.
Good. Andy Thomas has said that Candyman is good, by the way. We've had a few people watching. Thank you for those of you that have watched this live. As I said, it was a bit sort of impromptu. We just thought we'd do it. We're all obviously still very tired from the festival ourselves, but we've lost Andy as well, I've noticed, since we've been talking there.
He's fallen asleep.
Yeah. But no, I do appreciate the comments and appreciate you viewing, and if anybody's finding this after the fact, then please do put comments down below if you have them. If you found this interesting, consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and checking out some of the other work. But in the meantime, before we finish up, tell us where people can find more of your work and what you're currently working on. So, hold on. Andy is back. Or is he? Oh, connection problems.
Andy, are you in the dark?
Can you hear us, Andy?
He lives up north. They don't have good internet up there.
Andy, I don't know whether you can hear us. No, I think he's having problems. So
he's been taken by Candyman.
Indeed. Well, how many times have we mentioned it now? I must be getting near the. You
need a mirror though to say it into.
Well, but we are looking at screens of ourselves,
it's
right?
Not the same.
Let's hope it's not, eh?
Exactly. So, Clive, where can people find more of your work, and what are you currently working on?
Oh, okay. If you want to look at some of my previous short films, you can go to Vimeo and put in my name, and you'll find my most recent films as a director. If you go to, I'm sure Mike will tell you about his short films. I do make an appearance in some of them, in some monstrous guises as well. And obviously do check out other stuff on this channel. I've been appearing on the streams talking about Marvel Disney Plus shows. So yeah, that's me.
Fair enough. Andy, we're just sort of saying about where people can get in touch or any other work or anything. I don't know whether that's something you want to partake in or abstain from, but there is no wrong answer here. Can you hear us? Oh, I think you might be frozen. Either that or you're really
frozen in time.
Just said.
His muscle control's really good if he's not frozen.
It is.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I think that woman from Audition has done something to him.
Anyway, while we're waiting for Andy to connect, if he can again, Mike, tell us about what you're up to and where people can find your work.
Well, you know what we're up to, Keith, because you and I are in the middle of trying to make a feature film, and we've had our amazing ideas stolen by someone, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and make it anyway because we think we've got a good story. And I just knocked up a rough trailer this evening, but you're going to have a look at it and probably mess around with it. So,
of course. It wouldn't be a collaboration if I didn't, would it, Mike?
I know.
It's quite funny when you think about it. Like the some of the work that the three of us have been involved in has actually been as a direct result of Frightfest, in fact, hasn't it?
That's true. Yeah.
Mainly because I saw a short film at Frightfest and said I can do better than that load of old shit. Yeah.
And you did, right?
Well, I met you through Frightfest, Mike, and then you sent me a link to your short, and then I said, "That's really good. You should make more," and I'd be up for helping out with that. And and then I introduced you to Keith, and then and then it's sort of like, then the horror really began, right?
It's like a COVID virus spreading, isn't it, in the film world?
So Mike, where can people find these mentioned films?
Just search for my name, Mike Tack Films, in YouTube, and you'll get pretty much everything there. I did have something on Amazon, but I was getting bugger all in the way of royalties. So I thought I'll just make it free on YouTube, so you can see everything I do with all you guys in it. My favourite role that Clive did was when he actually grew a moustache, especially for a part as a barber in the Wild West 1800s film that we did. I thought that was good method acting from him.
Called Lone Wolf Pine, Red Wolf.
No,
Pine.
Red Wolf Pines.
Red Wolf Pines.
Yes, Red
Considering
Wolf
you were in it, Keith, that's disgusting that you can't remember the title.
Just the slip of the tongue. And
it's your age.
We've definitely lost Andy.
Oh, well.
So okay. And you can find more of my work if you go to YouTube and put in British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. You can find half a dozen short films that I've done that are thrillers, dark thrillers on there. So please check those out. Any comments, etc., are most welcome. Obviously, if you're here, you're already on this channel. This does also go out as a podcast, LSWOT Cast on all good.
Oh, does it? Right.
There are other videos here. If you're into physical media, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, that sort of thing, check out some of my product unboxings, reviews, explain videos, etc. down here. Consider liking, subscribing to the channel, following, and all of that good stuff. And
talking of your channel, Keith, quickly, I hear that you've got another mystery box to unbox, but you haven't bothered yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is another one coming. There's been a couple of mystery unboxings and a third one to come. Care of Mike, and it is appreciated, Mike. So thank you.
Andy, you're alive.
Hello.
Andy's back with us. How you doing, Andy? Oh dear, you frozen again.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Frozen again.
It's like he's forgotten what he's meant to say, and he's just frozen in time.
Yeah, I will put links down below to everybody's work. Also, I do need to point out that tomorrow I'm also involved in a live stream with the Space Book with Dan Hadley, and we are going to be doing an interview with Simon Aitken about the film Modern Love, which is available to stream on Amazon Prime. Definitely not a horror in this case.
Well, it depends your point of view, Keith.
But listen, we'll try once more with Andy. Is it going to work? No, it's not. Right. In that case, I thank everybody for their time today, and we will see you at the next edition of Home Media Minefield.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone at Frightfest, and bye for now.
Bye.